Subscribe to Bisbo and press the bell icon. See boring news turn into enjoyable stories. With the war raging in Ukraine to its north, the control room at Pakistan's Air Defense Operations Center was on high alert anyway. It was 6:43 p.m. in Pakistan, minutes before sunset on the evening of March 9th, 2022, when something strange and unexpected appeared on their screens.
Incoming projectile from India!
The senior officer in charge was busy with last-minute paperwork before his shift ended, when he was rudely interrupted.
Janab, a missile has been fired from India.
By the time the senior officer got the Air Chief Marshal online, a crucial 3 minutes and 2 seconds had already elapsed.
Sir, India launched a missile and it is just now entering our territory. Time to impact? 3 minutes 44 seconds, sir.
The missile fired was the nuclear-capable BrahMos that travels at close to Mach 3 or 3 times the speed of sound. With its speed and capability to fly low and change direction swiftly, the Pakistanis' only hope was their new but untested Chinese air defense system, the HQ-9P. But the incoming missile was beyond its strike range of 25 kilometers, making it impossible for them to intercept it within those few minutes.
Is this an assault by Indian forces? But why? Any Indian army or navy movement? No, sir, none. Keep looking. Activate all commands.
The India side remained largely tight-lipped about the incident, so we reproduce here Pakistan's version of events. Pakistan alleges that the missile first cruised 70 to 100 kilometers from Sirsa to Mahajan field firing range of the Indian forces, then suddenly turned towards it 24 kilometers from the border towards the general direction of Multan, Pakistan's 7th largest city. One can imagine that the control room at the Indian side must have been near panic as well.
Sir, what do we do now? Shall we shut down systems?
A dichotomous option. If India were to shut down systems, what would it do if Pakistan retaliated? And if it didn't, it risked launching other missiles going off by accident. Any miscalculation by either side could escalate into war. A frightening scenario, especially with India estimated to have 156 and Pakistan 165 nuclear weapons stockpiled. Surely both sides must have felt the 6 minutes and 46 seconds that the missile was in the air as though it was eternity.
Hope it's not another war. Hope they realize it's a mistake and don't retaliate.
But I'll tell you about a more sure-shot way to hit your career target. Are you someone who consumes a lot of content around startups or spends time on LinkedIn, Twitter, following famous personalities like Ankur Warikoo? Are you a young working professional with 2 to 5 years of experience looking to join the best startups in India in management roles? Then the STOA MBA is a really good option for you. It's a 6-month online weekend program where you learn about all the business functions, but with a key difference: a focus on how it all happens in startups. STOA School is the only B school that develops talent especially for startups. It's India's best alternative to the traditional MBA, which takes 1 year of entrance and 2 years of studying. STOA will also help you get jobs at high-growth startups. They are funded by the founders of Cred, Zerodha, Udemy, Myntra, Redbus and Zivame. And the cost is just 1/10 of a traditional MBA. The fastest growing startups in India hire from STOA School. Use the link in the video description to know more about STOA. Back to the story. The missile finally crashed into the outskirts of Mia Channu city of Pakistan's Punjab province, 124 kilometers inside their territory. Importantly, no one was killed. It was well past midnight when the Pakistani defense chiefs got together for an urgent meeting.
We must use this incident to our advantage.
March 10th. This they did in various ways. First was to show the world their military capability.
Our systems were able to track India's missile right from launch till impact.
Unfortunately though, they got that one wrong. Because India was quick to clarify that it was Ambala, not Sirsa as claimed by Pakistan, from where the missile was launched. March 11th. Second was to pull up India by summoning the Indian envoy and registering a protest over violation of its airspace. Normally it has always been India giving Pakistan a talking to for its many violations, so it must have been particularly sweet for them to do this. The third was to pressure India against doing another Balakot by calling on envoys of all the UNSC's permanent 5 countries and raising a hullabaloo in the international community. By March 11th evening, the Pakistanis got what they wanted, a formal apology by India, who termed it as a technical malfunction during routine maintenance leading to an accidental launch. This theory is further strengthened by the fact that the missile had no warhead, which is why the explosion in Mia Channu did not cause damage. March 15th, the matter was serious enough for Parliament to give assurances.
We give utmost priority to the safety of our missile systems, and any gaps will be probed and addressed.
But Pakistan did not let up on its pressure tactics.
If we hadn't picked it inside India and reacted, do you realize the consequences?
However, India's long history of military maturity, like its no first use nuclear policy and military restraint, got the US to support this one exception.
No indication it was anything other than an accident.
Other incidents have happened in the past, mostly by accident, but North Korea's Kim Jong-un has been regularly testing his ICBM missiles off the coast of Japan and violating Japanese waters, keeping the world on edge. To avoid such a scenario, India and Pakistan signed a pact in October 2005 specifying missile testing protocols, where both agreed to keep launch sites 40 kilometers away and the impact site at least 75 kilometers from the international boundary or line of control. Further, both countries pledged to give a 3-day prior notification for any ballistic missile test done anywhere in the country, even for tests done as far away on India's eastern flank in Odisha's coast or even further away in the Andamans, like the test we did with BrahMos on March 23rd, barely days after the incident, stating that it hit its test target with pinpoint accuracy in a bid to show the world that India is in complete control of its missile arsenal. Because in January of this year, Philippines became the first country to buy BrahMos in a $375 million deal, and we must make sure our other buyers remain interested. An advance notice of a test is also important for commercial airplanes flying over nearby airspaces, so nervous fingers do not trigger unfortunate episodes like Iran shooting down a Ukrainian passenger jet in 2020, mistaking it for a cruise missile, or the Russian-backed rebels in Ukraine hitting a Malaysian flight in 2014. This time a few commercial flights had a close shave. Indigo flight from Srinagar to Mumbai, Fly Dubai from Sialkot to Dubai, and Air Blue from Lahore to Riyadh, as they were within the missile trajectory within a 1-hour time. In 1995, Russian President Boris Yeltsin became the first world leader to open a nuclear briefcase, after their radar spotted a Norwegian rocket in the sky, but it ultimately turned out to be a scientific one and landed harmlessly in the sea. Fart noises and air bubbles from herring fish sent Sweden on a decade-and-a-half hunt, putting all their naval and airborne resources chasing to find an imaginary Russian submarine. Because a year earlier in October 1981, a 76-meter-long real Russian S-363 submarine strayed off course and trespassed into Swedish waters 10 kilometers from their naval base. Indo-Pak aircrafts have also meandered into each other's airspace. In 1999, Pakistan Navy's patrol aircraft the Atlantic came into India's side. Heading towards a MiG-21 piloted by squadron leader Prashant Bundela, it was shot down and all of its 16 crew members killed. Tufani, an IAF Dassault Auragan, crossed into Pakistan airspace in 1965 and was captured. IAF's Electric Canberra PR-57 wavered across Gujarat's border in 1959 as pilots faced lack of oxygen and was shot down. In both cases, the Indian pilot and officers survived and were repatriated. This time there is the DGMO hotline through which it is assumed India must have informed Pakistan about the accidental launch, because the same hotline is being used effectively to maintain a ceasefire along the LOC since Feb 2021. Surely a detailed probe is necessary, and one by an Air Chief Marshal has reportedly blamed a group captain who was officer in charge of missiles at the time. Yet, what mistake triggered the missile to go bonkers like a badly positioned Diwali rocket going into a neighbor's home? This has left military experts puzzled, as the firing of a missile involves coding a target in the system and activating several switches. India has rejected Pakistan's claim of the missile going haywire, claiming that it followed a single path trajectory. Obviously, the system or the officer in charge did not use a preset code, as the destination of impact had no military or strategic value.
If wrong coordinates were entered, it should have gone straight to that destination. If the missile jammed in flight, then only would the direction change.
So if the missile launched accidentally or went haywire, why wasn't the self-destruct fuse activated? Could they have lost contact with it? The only likely explanation seems to be that a fault developed in the missile's GPS during a routine testing exercise, leading to a change in direction. While according to the editor of Defense and Security Alert,
within the military community, it is being regarded as a grave error.
However, every incident has a silver lining, and this one has at least two. One, that responsible people, not trigger happies, control decisions across the border. And two, there has been a considerable growth in mutual trust between India and Pakistan. Bisbo's limerick. Did you hear the story of a rogue missile that travelled to Pakistan as if it had gone senile? But none thought it a threat, nor fumed nor fret, because relations between the two seem to have turned docile. You will also find these sources listed in the video description section.